Well, hello there, good people. It's your boy Johny-J, and welcome to another epic photo adventure. Oh, hang on a minute. Actually, we're in the studio this week. We're not going on an adventure, but this is an important question that I wanted to answer, and it's got to do with some post-processing. So imagine you're going to a location that's been shot hundreds of thousands of times by hundreds of thousands of photographers, and you want to go there and make that photograph your own. Okay, you want to personalize it, you want to give it your spin, you want to create your own style at that location. Okay, there's a couple of things you can do. You can get creative with your compositions in the field, and that works. And then there's definitely things you can do and shoot things different using different focal lengths and techniques to do that. But another thing, sometimes at some locations you can't get anything different. It might be just the one shot, and that's all there is to have there. You know, there's not too many other variations of that shot that everyone's taken. So there's another way to go about this, okay, and that's through your post-processing technique. All right, and doing little localized fine adjustments that tweak your photograph, that again, you know, it may fix some things that you find aren't appealing in your frame, but it allows you to create something a little bit more custom and a little bit more interesting, and add your own flavor or style to the look of that photograph. Okay, so in this video I'm going to take you through a photograph from the beautiful Wanaka tree in New Zealand. I was there a few years ago with a mate pre-COVID, and we had this epic day. It was mid-morning, I think, and we got there, and this beautiful cool light, snow-capped mountains in the background, fall colors around, like late fall colors, orangey tones, and it was just amazing. And I just love this location, and yes, it was on my bucket list of things to photograph, but people have been there 1,000 times before and taken the same photograph. So I'm going to show you how I do a few little tweaks with in Lightroom and really personalize this photograph. All right, let's get into the localized adjustments. All right, let's take a look at this. So when I look at this image, I'm looking at, you know, things that I can improve on this photograph. By the way, such a cool place, Wanaka tree in New Zealand, absolutely love it. A couple of things I can see here. This area to me is a little bit too dark. Not loving the color of that orange there either. So that's one thing. The second thing is texture in the clouds, and possibly making this blue a little bit more poppy up there. One thing you have to be careful of when you're starting to adjust your sky, particularly when you've got reflections, is you definitely do not want to brighten the reflection more than the sky, because it's going to look very unnatural. And then the other thing I see, there's more oranges and textures in this background. Don't want to go too crazy with that, because what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're getting like that depth of field that's created naturally that you'll see with the eye. And that's when you've got this, you know, sharpness and textures and contrast in the foreground, and as you get towards the back it falls off a little bit. But I do see some lightening that I'd like to do with these peaks at the back to bring those out. I think that's definitely something, and there's possibly some removal of distracting elements as well. These red buoys out here, not really in love with those. So let's start with that, and then we'll just work our way through, and if I see something else that really jumps out at me, then yeah, we'll have a go at that. There is a thing that I do, and I really love doing it in Photoshop with luminosity mask. You know, it's using a Midtone luminosity mask, and I can recreate it so similar here in Lightroom. So let's just see. So if I was to go to a luminosity selection here in the masking tool, so a lot of these you'll find will be masking tool things, and what I like about this Midtone contrast, and if we go show luminosity mask, and as I pull them back off the whites, what's going to happen, what's so nice about this is I can add contrast to my scene, but the contrast is not going to affect the lights and darks, okay? And that's really important, because I've already set my white point, I've already set my black point up here in the histogram. You can see this side and that side of the histogram, that's where your white point is, filling that area to the bright areas, and your dark point, this bit down here, okay? So by doing this selection and then going down to our curves adjustment here and just adding that contrast to that mid-tone area, You can see it starts to look a bit funky, but that's okay. We can adjust it. You can see what I've done now. I'll just turn off that overlay there as well. We can turn that off. And if I open this up here, you can see by adding that mid-tone contrast, it's just giving the scene a little bit more punch. So that's with it, without it, with it, without it. Okay, and now we've got this slider here. They call it the amount slider. It's like an opacity slider. I really love this thing because you can turn it up higher and you can also turn it off to nothing. So once you've made your adjustment now, I can fine tune it a little bit more. And the reason why I like doing that mid-tone contrast thing first is because it adds contrast. Yes, it's more globally, but it's globally throughout the mid-tone range. And when you're adding that contrast, you can see it's made a more pop in the different colors and that as well. It's given us a bit more contrast in the sky there. So that's before, after, and it changes everything. So I like to do that before I do any other localized adjustments. It's a pretty cool thing. So just a luminosity range there and fading out. You know, I've selected the center part of the tonal range there, and you can see I've feathered it out, but not all the way to the black point and the white point because I don't want that to affect it. And then just played around with a little S curve there in the tone curve tool. All right, so let's get on to the next thing. So I'm thinking, let's just see. So I'm going to create a new mask now, and I'm going to try for a color range. I'm going to grab this color over here, and let's just see what it's done. How much of that dark area has it grabbed? Oh, that's pretty good. That's actually really good. So I'm going to just make sure everything's reset here. And I just want to open up the shadows in that area. And what I'm looking at is this area here. That's all I'm interested right now. It's probably brightening up the tree there a bit, but I'm not worried about that at the moment. Actually, I kind of like that where it's brightening up the tree as well. So maybe somewhere there. So I'm just concentrating on that area over on the left at the moment. Yeah, that's kind of nice. I do like that. Let's have a look at the tone of that now. I don't want to go green, but I don't want to go, it was a bit crazy orange, and I just want to find somewhere in between, maybe slightly more green than that wicked orange it was. So let's have a look. So that's before, after, before, after. That's looking pretty good. Now, if I hold down the Option key or Alt key on Windows and click intersect, I'm going to intersect with a brush, okay? Then I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to paint, make sure my brush, the flow is all the way up here, and make sure I've got a nice big brush here. And basically what's that saying to Lightroom is where I'm painting with that brush only affect that area with the original mask, okay? Because that's what intersecting does. And that will then just make that selection on that area, and it's not affecting the tree, it's not affecting the right-hand side of the image, it's just purely affecting this area. Now, what I might do is I'm just gonna play with the blacks, maybe bump those blacks up there a little bit. Good. All right, so let's have a look at that now. So it's before, after. Cool, that's looking good. I'm liking where we're at now. All right, let's do some work on the sky. Let's see if we can get a bit more punch out of that sky. And this is going to be quite an easy adjustment. You know, sky selection, really, really love this. Let's do sky selection here. Let's go down here to our clarity, and we're just going to turn that up a little bit there. Let's play with the clarity there. Let's play with a little bit of dehaze as well, just getting a bit more punch and drama out of that sky. And it's naturally going to be poppy on the right hand side, you know, because that's where the light's coming from, and it's going to be darker on the left hand side, and that's okay. But let's just have a look where we're at right now. So before, just really subtle, before, after, before, after. Yeah, I'm really liking that. So what I always like to do is feather the adjustment out towards the horizon line, okay? So if I hold down the Option key, click intersect, and I'm going to intersect that sky selection with a linear gradient. I'm just going to drag that out there, and if I turn that on, you'll see basically what it's doing is just feathering out those adjustments we did down towards that horizon line. Okay, and that's what we want. And you always get a more natural sort of fall off or gradient with whatever sky adjustments you do, particularly when you're starting to add contrast and drama, if you use this technique by intersecting with that gradient tool. I love that tool, it's awesome. So let's add a bit more contrast to our sky as well. So just while we've got that selection there, it's getting a bit funky. I don't want to get too funky there in the top left corner. Cool, just a little bit of an adjustment there. Let's turn that off. So let's just have a look. I always like to go before, after, before, after. Yeah, I actually like that darkening down in there. I think that's nice. I'm just going to zoom out a bit. I always like to zoom out, and then let's turn on and off our localized adjustments where we're at now. So let's have a look. Before, after, before, after. That's looking good. I even think that sky adjustment now, if you have a look at what it was before to after, just bringing down this area up the top and darkening down the top, that's helping your eye stay in the top of the frame, which is really, really important. And I also think it's helping redirect the viewer's eye towards the Wanaka tree there, which I think is really cool. So before, after, before, after. And the other thing I really like is you can start to see a few of these rocks coming out, and those rocks showing up is actually from that mid-tone contrast adjustment we did at first. So look at the rocks in the foreground. So that's without that mid-tone contrast adjustment. That's with it. Without it, with it. Yeah, so I really like that. It's bringing through that texture there, looking a-okay, looking really, really good. All right. Next, let's have a look at this though. Let's go back into our localized adjustments. Let's jump into our luminosity range. Let's see if we can grab the top of these here. Ooh, it's going to bleed over into the sky a little bit there, is it? Yeah, it might be hard. And sometimes with these adjustments, they're not always going to be perfect, okay? And that's the thing. You might try one, that doesn't work. Okay, cool. All right, so that didn't work. Let's try something else. A luminosity adjustment didn't work. Maybe a color range. Let's see what happens when we grab this color range here. Ooh, yeah, that's going to be a tough one, okay? Now you're really getting Johnny working. Okay, so let's try the color range there. So what I'm trying to do is get a selection on the top of those mountains there. And to be honest, Photoshop does so much better selections, and maybe we'll do another video. Let me know in the comments if you're keen to see me do this sort of stuff, but with luminosity masks in Photoshop, because I find the adjustments you have to your luminosity mask in Photoshop, it's just so much more refined and better. But anyway, look, you can do most of this stuff in Lightroom, and that's okay. So let's do this. So what we might do is that, and then I'm going to subtract it with a brush. But this time I'm going to turn the auto masking on. Let's just see if we can get a clean edge along here. So basically what I'm trying to do is get a clean edge along the top of my mountains. That's all I'm worried about. Clean edge along there and get that white stuff hanging out. That's all. That's what I'm loving. Yeah, that's cool. All right. So we're getting a pretty good adjustment there. That's not too bad. Let's just see if we can get that to work. So we turn up let's go a little bit of exposure there. And don't worry, you're probably looking at the rest of the image going, Johnny, what are you doing, mate? Looks terrible. But again, options, intersect, that we just turn the exposure up a bit, intersect with a brush, okay? And then I'm just gonna paint back in that area. So maybe I need to explain that one again. So we did a color selection for the top of the hills, but it bled over into the sky. I used a brush tool to subtract that along the edge with the auto masking tool, okay? Then I adjusted the exposure up, and then to take care of the rest of the masking, I've done an intersect with the brush tool, okay? And painted that area in, and because it's already selected, don't have to be too worried about it, and it's gonna look nice and sweet. Let's have a look. So that's before, after, before, after. Yeah, loving that. Let's just bringing out those peaks, you know, a little bit of brightening there. Dodging and burning, it does wonders. I really, really love it. All right, so let's keep going here. So if we have a look, actually, let's just do before, after, before, after. Cool, really loving where we're at there. All right, so let's grab this, another mask. Now I'm looking at this hill here, and I'm thinking, I want that to stand out a little bit more. I want those oranges to be a little bit more punchy. And there's a couple of ways we could do this, but I'm thinking we just go for a color range here. Let's see what it does. If I refine that color range, we should be able to get good separation in there. Yeah, that's not too bad. That's getting pretty good separation around it. And I can do that intersecting like I was doing before. So let's go in here now. Let's just have a look at saturation on that hill. Yeah, it's bringing up the saturation, but I think what it might need is one, a little bit more warmth. Okay, I'm just looking at this hill. That's all I'm worried about, not looking at anything else now. And I just want to see if we go down, just have a look here, see if we can get that to be a bit more punchy. Oh, that's cool. All right, so let's have a look before, after, before, after. Cool. All right, so now to take care of all that stuff that's around it, I'm going to go intersect with the brush tool, and I'm going to paint on our heel here where we want that adjustment to be. And I can be a little bit loose because we've already done our initial masking there. And now we've done a cool adjustment just on that heel there. Let's have a look what we've done. So let's have a look. Before, so you can see it's slightly blue, and I brought up the oranges, given it a bit more punch, given it a bit more contrast, but not crazy. Again, like I said, things in the background, you don't want them overly contrasty, okay? That's the important thing. Really, really important. All right, so let's do before, after, before, after. And I think that's looking really, really good. I always like to zoom out and make things a lot smaller and have a good look around my frame, and we can turn those adjustments on and off, on, off, on, off. I'm really liking where that's at now. I think that's looking really, really good. So here's the total before and after. So let's go before, after, before, after. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. I think we've done pretty well. There's a bit of Photoshop work, I think, to get rid of those buoys there. I could possibly do that in Lightroom, but I like to do cleanup in Photoshop. I find that just does a much better job. But other than that, I think I'm pretty happy where those adjustments are at. And you can see how powerful, once you get your head around this masking, doing these localized adjustments, it really allows you to fine tune your photograph and make it something personal, you know, create a style that's your style out of this photograph by doing these localized adjustments. All right, good people, I hope you enjoyed that one. I want to sprinkle a few of these little post-processing tutorials in every now and then. Let me know how you found it. If you liked it, please leave me a comment below or give me some feedback. I'd really appreciate it. And if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. My goal is 1,000 subscribers. I'm getting there. I think we're up to 890 something or other, so which is really, really good. I'm so stoked that we're getting close to my goal. But please subscribe, hit the bell, and you'll get notified when new videos land. And I'd be really interested to hear from you if you enjoyed this tutorial. All right guys, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.